It's that time of month again, ladies and gentlemen. The Boruto chapter 29 spoilers are finally here for us. A huge thank you to Organic Dinosaur and her team for getting this chapter translated and getting the summary and the plot points out to us early. Huge props to you guys. The Reddit link to Organic Dinosaur's Reddit post will be in the description below, right at the top for you guys to go and check out. As always, to go and keep checking it, keeping up to date with any new spoilers that come out after this video's gone live. I expect that the chapter will most likely be available to read, if not tomorrow, definitely at some point this weekend. I think probably most likely late Friday night, Saturday, something like that. So guys, without further ado, let's jump into these chapter spoilers. I'd also like to apologise. I have to stand here and look down to read them now because now that I've changed my setup and I'm stood up during my recordings, I'm not sat in front of my computer and it's just down below me. So do bear with me if this seems a little bit weird, but let's start. So these are Organic Dinosaur's kind of own personal notes. The exact summary of the chapter is not out right now. That's why I urge you guys to keep an eye on that link in the description to get any new information. But we're going to go off the little notes, and it's kind of a summary that Organic Dinosaur is giving us. So, kind of weirded out that Cash and Koji croaks like a toad. Some kind of ribbit in English. Now, this is something that's not mentioned within this Reddit post, but I have seen pictures from the Korean version of this, which my friend Different sent to me, and that is pictures of Cash and Koji with Sage Mode eyes, which is incredibly hype. You'll see at some point in this video later on that Cash and Koji is actually using a toad for spying, so people are kind of wondering if it's actually a Sage Mode or if it's just kind of like his eyes, the toad's eyes, because he's using the toad to spy. If that makes sense. I'm sure we'll find out within this chapter, but it's mad hype that Cash and Koji may actually have Sage Mode, and it just adds another tick to the Cash and Koji being Jiraiya theory that people talk about. But regardless, let's do this. A nice parallel taijutsu sparring match. Boruto versus Naruto. And then a flashback of Kawaki versus Jigen. So, we're going to have quite a... I believe this chapter is going to be quite heavy on both dialogue and action, which is kind of like the perfect combination. I think Kawaki versus Jigen is probably the one I'm most excited to see, although I feel like it'll be pretty short. But then again, it says a parallel sparring match, so the idea I'm getting in my head is something like the Obito versus Kakashi fight, where it's kind of switching in between the present day fight and the sparring match they had when they were kids. I feel as though they'll keep switching in between the Boruto and Naruto sparring match as it is with the Kawaki and Jigen one, which is going to be very interesting. Jigen clubbed Kawaki straight in the face with a bow. Now, some of you, and I think a lot of you may not know this, but what a bow is, it's not like a bow and arrow or anything like that. It's actually, that is the name of the weapon that we see Kawaki using right at the start in the flash forward. That big long staff is called a bow. So, is that kind of saying to us that, you know, Jigen's going to have taught him how to use it? I don't know, I just thought it's kind of an interesting little thing to point out. But anyway, let's carry on. Boruto and Naruto, with the bandaged hand, do a waki no in after sparring, which is that kind of like, you know, the thing where they lock hands like that. I'm sure if you've watched Naruto, you know what that is. The most iconic panel of the chapter. Now that's going to be quite interesting. I can picture like some sort of parallel going on where one half of the page is them doing the waki no in, and then the second half of the page is kind of just like Jigen looking at Kawaki in disgust. Something along those lines. You know what I'm trying to say. So, I would say there's a healthy mix of dialogue and action in this chapter. Delta plus Homestay Continued plus Kawaki and Naruto office talk. Now that's quite interesting. I'm glad we're going to see a little bit of Delta again in this chapter. I didn't want her to kind of get rejected because I feel as though just seeing the Kara members more and more is just my favourite parts of the story right now, at least in my opinion. Right on, lightning release, thunderclap arrow from Boruto, Kagen Bunshin from both Naruto and Boruto in the sparring match, Kawaki and Himawari spectating, they're really into it. I really like the idea of Kawaki watching Naruto spar. I mean, obviously it's going to bring back flashbacks of him versus Jigen, which is not so good. But I feel as though if he sees that Boruto is actually pretty damn strong, then, you know, it kind of works in shonen anime that the stronger you are, the more respect you get. It's just something that happens, you know. So I feel as though Kawaki may come to respect him a little bit more, and he'll actually kind of start to get an idea of to what extent Boruto can use the Karma Seal, maybe, something along those lines. Going to be very, very, very interesting. Naruto did beat Boruto with his Karma Seal activated too during the sparring match. Very, very excited to see that, because I don't think, or at least not much, I mean, I know his Shadow Clone has seen Boruto and Kawaki in their Karma mode, but he's never really mentioned it, so I'm looking forward to that. The Jigen flashback is quite depressing. Basically, it's a section full of almost every possible kanji combo to call Kawaki something along the lines of empty, useless, hollow, nothing, a hole. This part is not quite wordplay, blah blah. So that is, it's quite ironic, because I remember when Jigen first took in Kawaki, he took him by the hand, he says, "Don't worry, you can call me father, I'll look after you, I'll protect you." And he's quite arguably, in fact, not even arguably, he's being even more abusive than his actual dad was, which, I mean, are we all, any of us surprised? I don't know, I thought Jigen, I quite like it sometimes where the bad guys are actually kind of nice and they have respect for their teammates and all that. I mean, Jigen seems to have a decent relationship with Cash and Koji and Delta, but Kawaki, on the other hand, absolute punching bag for him. Next one, Jigen's emotional and physical abuse is a bit much. So that's going to be very, very dark and depressing. I personally, whenever I see people asking who had the most tragic story in the Naruto universe, and it's always between people like Sasuke, you know, Itachi, all these type of people, Kakashi, I'm holding my hand up. I think it's Kawaki, personally. Personally, I think that it's Kawaki. And then there's a couple of like extra little ones which I want to talk about, which my friend Different told me about on Twitter, and that is that there's a talk going on between Naruto and Kawaki. I presume this is the office talk about the Kagebunshins, the Shadow Clones, and Naruto is explaining to Kawaki what ninjutsu is and all of that. So that's going to be quite interesting. I believe the cover, I haven't seen the cover right now. The cover holds Kawaki in a green top in a pretty boy pose, you know, all that type of stuff. And then the final thing I want to talk about, is Cash and Koji using the toad to spy on Kawaki. Now, this is kind of what I think people saw coming, but at the same time, kind of not, because there was the people who thought Cash and Koji wasn't really going to do a lot in this chapter. I was one of them. And then you had the people saying he's going to kidnap Boruto, he's going to kill Ino, all of this type of stuff. People saying that he could kidnap Ino, which I think could make a bit of sense. And I would personally like that, because it gives kind of one of the forgotten characters in Naruto some relevancy. So that's all good. But he is using a toad to spy on Kawaki, which is quite cool. Personally, I like seeing all the toads again. I feel as though the toads are kind of underused, to be honest, in Naruto. So seeing a bad guy with toads, when you usually put the toads, you correspond them with the good guys of the series, you know, you Konohama's, your Jiraiya's, your Naruto's, a bad guy with a toad and Sage Mode. Mwah. I think that is a pretty sick combo. But guys, that is it for the spoilers for now. Like I said, keep an eye on that Reddit post for any updates that may come after this video has already gone live. The chapter will be out in the next day or so. Super excited to review it. Make sure you do not miss to subscribe to the channel if you're not already to catch that. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. Leave your comment section down below. Let's discuss the possibilities of Boruto Chapter 9 greatness. But guys, I'll see you guys in another video. Until then, peace.